Good morning, everybody. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about leadership and team building. Um, the purpose of this speech is basically to inform my audience that there are certain qualities that make a great leader, and those great leadership qualities then translate into, being the capability of building a high-performance team. I'm sure that many of you have worked for a company that had poor leadership in the past. You might have felt a little bit deflated and not inspired. At this point of my degree, I went through all of my leadership classes that I needed to obtain the degree in frontline leadership. And what I've learned along the way is that there are certain things that play a part in what makes a great leader and what inspires people. Some of the things I'll talk about today is how ethics play a part in leadership, some of the tools for effective team building, and then also some things that you can do to motivate your teams. So to understand what qualities make up an effective leader, I will expand on the three topics that I just spoke about, and they are ethics, motivation, and we'll go over the 4 stages of team building. There are many different ethical approaches to consider in leadership, and I'll just talk through those really quickly. The common good approach is, basically how does this benefit all parties involved? There's the utilitarian approach that is basically the greater good. It's the right balance of benefits versus the negative impact for the people involved. There's the rights approach, which is making a decision that will best maintain the rights of those people being effective. The fairness approach goes over treating people as proportionally fair as equally as possible. And the virtues approach, which is just be a good human being and exhibit certain practices of fairness, honesty, and integrity. But to be a great leader, ethics is only part of the recipe. There are many different tools available, to figure out, what motivates your team members. There are certain things like learning style inventory, and it's a model to help identify, unique learning styles. Concrete experiences, they focus on being involved in, and it emphasizes on feeling more than thinking. There's reflective observation, which emphasizes on reflecting on what you have learned. There's abstract conceptualization that emphasizes thinking rather than feeling, and active experimentation, which emphasizes doing more than observing. You can also look at Thiagi's 14 things that you should know about learning. And the first one we'll cover applies to all living creatures. It's the law of reinforcement. Learners repeat behaviors that are rewarded. The next few apply to all human beings. And we won't go over all of them for the sake of time, but the law of individual differences is people learn in different ways. The law of response level, learners master skills and knowledge at the level they are required to respond. And then we also have law of learning domains, which is different types of learnings require different types of strategies. And then the next few apply just to adult learners, which is more of what we focus on in the workforce. And the law of previous experience means that new learning should be linked to past experiences. And the law of self-image, adult learners use a variety of standards to judge their learning. And then one more I'll talk about real quick is the law of alignment. And adult learners require training objectives and content, activities, and assessment techniques to be aligned with each other. So we've covered some of the tools that help leaders build high-performance teams. Now I want to talk a little bit about assessing your team. One of the tools that I've used in the past as I entered into a new leadership role was, you inherit a management team that might have been in place for a long period of time. And I did an exercise basically on the 4 stages of team building just to get a pulse on, where the team is at in relation to working with one another across cross-functional departments. So the 4 stages of team building start with forming, Then you go into storming, and then norming, and then performing. And the exercise that I performed with the leadership team that have been in place in a while really kind of looks at, gave me a look into, where we're at. And overwhelmingly, the departments were in the norming stage, which means they performed on a departmental level, but on a cross-functional department level, they weren't performing as one team. Lastly, I want to talk real quick about the motivation process. I'm going to touch on a few points here, again, for the sake of time. But, basically, highly motivated people work more efficiently. Studies on motivation have also verified that motivation plays a crucial role in determining a person's level of performance. And the motivation process not only helps the leader understand human behavior, it also facilitates ways to discover how an individual can be introduced to produce the desired behavior. In conclusion, there are many leadership tools that and theories, if one is interested in doing the research. I believe the tools we talked about today are only some of the more beneficial tools, but there are many, many tools out there to assess your team and learn about good leadership behavior. Thank you for listening today. Is there any questions from the class?
Yes, sir.
No.
All right, thank you.